Quick question. If I gave you two envelopes right now, one with $10,000 cash, and one that's just a piece of paper saying you own a tiny slice of 500 of the biggest companies in the world, which one would you actually pick? Most people pick the cash. It feels real. You can touch it, you can count it. But here's the uncomfortable truth I want to show you today. That piece of paper has, historically, turned into more than 6 times the cash over 20 years. And the cash, it barely kept up with your grocery bill. If you've got money sitting in a savings account right now, $2,000, $20,000, doesn't matter, and you've been telling yourself, I'll start investing eventually. This video is going to show you exactly when eventually should become this week, and exactly how to do it, without gambling away your safety net. Stick around, because step 4 is the one that trips up almost everyone, and skipping it is why so many people quit investing after their first bad month. Nobody sets out to make a financial mistake by saving money. That's actually the confusing part. Saving is praised everywhere, by parents, by teachers, by every budgeting tips video on the internet. So when you build a healthy savings balance, it genuinely feels like you've won. But there's a hidden cost to leaving money in savings forever, and it's called purchasing power decay. Let's say inflation runs around 3% a year, which is a fairly normal long-term average. If your bank is paying you 0.4% interest, which is still common at a lot of big banks, your money isn't just growing slowly. It's actually losing value every single year because prices are climbing faster than your balance. So here's the reframe. A savings account isn't a growth tool, it's a storage tool. It's a warehouse, not a farm. Warehouses are great, you need one, but nothing you put in a warehouse multiplies while it sits there. For your money to multiply, it needs to be put to work somewhere else. That's what investing actually is. Renting your money out to the economy so it can go earn more money on your behalf. If investing is mathematically the better move, why do so many people avoid it for years, even when they know the numbers? Because your brain isn't wired for spreadsheets, it's wired for survival. And to your brain, a savings account balance that never moves feels safe, while a number that goes up and down feels like danger, even if the long-term direction is up. This is called loss aversion, and it's been studied for decades in behavioral economics. Losing $500 hurts roughly twice as much, emotionally, as gaining $500 feels good. So when your investment account dips 5% in a week, that sting is loud, way louder than the quiet satisfaction of a savings account sitting still. The fix isn't to force yourself to not care. The fix is to build a system where your emotions and your money are never fighting the same battle at the same time. That's exactly what the next part of this video is about. Step 1, build your floor first before a single dollar goes into the market. You need what I call a floor, 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, sitting in a boring, easily accessible savings or high-yield savings account. Why does this come first? Because the number one reason people sell their investments at a loss isn't bad luck in the market. It's a surprise expense forcing their hand. If your car breaks down and your only money is tied up in stocks that happen to be down 12% that month, you're forced to sell low. Your floor exists so the market can do its job without your life interrupting it. Step 2, give every dollar a job title. Here's a mental shift that changes everything. Stop thinking of your money as one big pile. Start giving it job titles. Protection money, your floor, your emergency fund. Its job is to never lose value. Growth money, everything beyond your floor. Its job is to grow over decades, and it's allowed to wobble along the way. When money has a clear job, you stop panicking when growth money dips, because you already know that's not its role. A parachute isn't broken because it swings a little on the way down. That's what it's supposed to do. Step 3, start absurdly small. This step alone stops more people from investing than any other myth. The idea that you need thousands of dollars to count. You don't. Most modern brokerage apps let you start with $25, $50, sometimes even less through fractional shares. The early goal isn't the dollar amount. It's building the muscle of automatically sending money toward growth every single month, the same way you'd set up a phone bill on autopay. Small and consistent beats big and occasional every time. Step 4, Choose boring over exciting. Here's the step that trips people up, the one I promised earlier. New investors almost always want to start with the exciting stuff, individual stock picks, crypto, options. And look, none of that is inherently evil. But statistically, the majority of professional fund managers, with teams of analysts and years of training, fail to beat a simple, broad market index over the long run. So a beginner trying to outguess the market isn't just risky, it's playing a game that experts usually lose too. A low-cost, broad market index fund does something almost boring by design. It buys a tiny sliver of hundreds of companies at once, so no single company's failure sinks you. And you're betting on the economy as a whole growing over time, which historically it has. Boring is a feature, not a flaw. Step 5, automate, then look away. The final step is the one nobody wants to hear. Set up automatic transfers into your investments, and then check your account far less often than you think you should. Studies on investor behavior consistently show that people who check their portfolios daily make more emotional, short-term decisions than people who check quarterly. You wouldn't check on a tree you planted every single day expecting to see it taller. You just water it on schedule and let time do the rest. Let's make this concrete without getting lost in a spreadsheet. Picture two people, both starting with zero. Person A keeps everything in savings, adding $250 a month for 25 years, earning close to nothing after inflation. Person B does the exact same monthly contribution, but into a diversified investment account, earning a long-term historical average return. By year 25, Person A has put in a solid chunk of change and has roughly that same amount sitting there. Person B put in the identical amount of their own money, but their account has grown to several times that size because for 2.5 decades, their money was earning its own money. And that new money was earning money too. Same income, same discipline, same monthly habit. The only difference was where the money was allowed to work. Here's what I want you to take from this. You don't have to choose between saving and investing, and you shouldn't. They're not rivals, they're teammates with different assignments. Saving protects the life you're living right now. Investing builds the life you haven't gotten to yet. If you've already got a solid floor built, and you've just been sitting on extra cash out of fear, hesitation, or simply not knowing where to start, consider this your sign. Start small, automate it, and let time do what time does best. Drop a comment and let me know, are you still building your floor, or have you already made the jump into investing? I read every single one. And if this gave you some clarity, hit subscribe. Because next week I'm breaking down exactly how to pick your first index fund without getting overwhelmed by the hundreds of options out there. See you in the next one.